So I remember reading something, it was either in an email or but after you guys clarified on the unavailability in the meeting, you guys also said that it would be helpful for cross, like,
Yes.
Substitutions.
Yes.
So are we gonna get jumped?
You could. It's a possibility. So it would be like a dire need. So I'll give you a situation that just happened today. Prince Conference Center, it has a catering of 500 people on Monday for lunch. They have no workers, period, whatsoever.
No workers.
We were overstaffed for Monday. So they reached out. That manager will reach out to me, and then I will figure out if we have anyone available. Same thing goes for us. If we're short-staffed, Sundays, I would reach out to employee Molly or Amanda to see if we can get help. And if they had staff available, they would come here. So yes, I'm gonna say I really would, I'd like to say that might happen 5% of the time. Very low.
But the truth is, we don't know. So we'll find out.
Because we're shorter staffed here, we have to have staffing here. So most of the time, it would be them coming to help us.
Yeah.
Any other questions? And I would let you know way ahead of time. Way ahead of time. Today was a little different. And I feel bad about it, but they would let me know ahead of time. No other questions? Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Our turn.
Our turn. Okay. We kind of briefly touched over this when we went through the handbook. We're going to go over safety and sanitation. There's pieces of paper on that table with pens. If you have questions, please write them down. We'll have a time for questions at the end, but we won't take questions during the presentation, just because it might take forever if we do that. So, yeah. Okay, there we go. We're all good. This clicker does not work.
It's because you're clicking actually on this instead of this. So try now.
Okay.
Told you.
All right, so we're just going to go over allergens, allergen information, cross-contact information, food temping safety, proper sanitation and whatnot, as well as just personal safety. So why this matters, we all work with food, we've all eaten food, we all probably have friends with allergies, and the more food we serve, the more allergens we have present, and the more likely it is that someone with allergies is going to have to come in contact with that. So there's a higher risk and more opportunities to get sick, and for that to spread when we're dealing with food. So we just want to be extra careful. And we also just deal with bacteria, sharp objects, allergic reactions, and intense heat daily. So we just want to make sure we're keeping those eating and ourselves safe while we're working. Yeah, so keep this in mind.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We didn't practice.
No, we didn't.
So yeah. This is just kitchen safety and terminology to help you. So if you hear them yelling weird words, if you don't know what they mean, this is your definitional guide. Although usually you should be able to figure it out because this is the kitchen, right? Like they're trying to be clear and very and concise. Yeah, loud. It's loud in there. So never walk behind the line, which means the counters in both commons and Millcrest, those counters, don't go behind them where the ovens are, where the steamers are, where all that stuff is, unless you're helping them directly. That's basically, so that way you don't get in their way, and just to keep yourself out of that area, because you're not trained to be back there, right? You're trained to do front of house stuff. You're not trained for back of house stuff. So don't get in their way. That's the best way you can help them a lot of the time. If you are helping them, obviously you're allowed to go behind the lines, but generally speaking, please don't. It can be dangerous. There's lots of hot objects back there. There's lots of very various things that are just, there's lots of fire. There's the fryers back there. Don't want to get your hand stuck in one of those. That does happen. It's not pretty. There are knives, all sorts of stuff. And if you're running around back there and you get bumped into someone else, or you get bumped into and you get burned or something, that's not good. That's bad. Yeah, injury is bad. So if you hear any of these words, you should know what they mean. Behind, someone is very close behind you, and you should just be aware of that. Do not make sudden movements. Do not turn around suddenly and stop. Just keep going the way you're going, because that's actually, the more predictably you move, the better. That's safer for everyone. So be careful and be aware, but be predictable. The most important, because when accidents happen is when unpredictable things happen. That's pretty much all the time that anything happens. If you can, try to go against a wall. If you're right next to it, don't if we're right here, right, and the wall's over here where there's probably a passage, go to this one and not this one, right? You want to go to the wall that's closer to you, or just keep moving if you can. Generally speaking, the less sudden movement, the less unpredictability. If it's hot or hot behind or hot coming through, means someone's near you with something really hot, like those. When stuff's just coming out of the oven, those pans are hot. They're 300 degrees. So it can be up to 300 degrees. Those give you scars. I would know. I have some. So just when they say hot, be okay, do not same thing with behind. Don't be unpredictable. If you can turn your head, do it, but otherwise just keep moving. Just don't if you hear hot behind, don't just stop there and go like that. You want to go more a quick head turn if you can. Don't do anything. Yeah, don't be stupid. Sharp means someone's carrying a knife or a sharp object or other sharp object. So here, a lot of times that you'll hear sharp, you should still be careful, but if they're doing their job properly, they're gonna have any sharp object pinned to their side and down, so that way they can't stab you, which is a good thing to know. If you do not hold any sharp object like this, any way that the blade is clearly going to have the possibility to impale someone else, you want to keep it down to your side like this. And with paring knives, which are the small ones, you can actually keep it internal to your wrist, along your wrist line. That will help keep the blade just even more out of the way. Reason for that is if you stab anyone, you stab yourself, and preferably not yourself, because legs and arms have arteries, and you don't want to cut your arteries.
We're not so in depth in this.
What else could possibly stab you that we work with?
We also work with a lot of, a fork, if you please.
No, there's something else that we work with.
Oh, the scissors. Yeah. You remember your mom telling you not to run with scissors? Don't run with scissors. So keep scissors. You should keep like a knife. Keep them pinned to your side. Keep those anything that has a pointy end. Keep it low. Keep it like that. If you hear the word hurt, that's good, right? That's a call of recognition. That's the classic response. If there's something saying taking 1 pan, 4 pans left, right? And you get hear heard. That's an acknowledgement of like they got you. That's the typical shorthand in the kitchen. So
We need to make sure that we're hollering back when we're taking hands out.
yeah, and if you do not hear heard for pants specifically, you keep yelling until you get that. Sometimes they get annoyed at you because they hear you anyway, but they like don't really acknowledge you. And that's okay. Let them be annoyed with you.
Yep.
We just need to make sure that we're communicating clearly. Because if they're not communicating back to us, that's also a problem. So we need to make sure that this goes both ways. Okay.
And you may already. Oh,
Sorry,
we're
but
holding
sometimes
questions.
happen is that no chefs in the kitchen.
Then you gotta
Rarely.
look for a chef. You gotta go look for a chef.
Yeah. Always look for a chef if you're communicating.
Yeah, I would just say finish doing what you're doing, and then as soon as you're done, make sure you go back and find someone, just anyone in the kitchen.
Yeah. This also goes for counts. If you don't hear heard when they're talking, when you say count, when you're talking, like you go back there, make sure you enunciate, you pull from the diaphragm, right? You know, you're projecting your voice. You can't go back there and go like counts 142 because that you're not. No one's gonna hear you. You have to go count 142, right? Project, or go up directly to somebody and talk to them, like get their attention. And until you hear heard, usually they'll repeat it back to you, and like yell it because they're actually communicating to everyone else in the kitchen what the count is. But until you hear heard or count 140 or something, or you know, something that a verbal acknowledgement that you hear, you do not leave until you get that acknowledgement. Be annoying on these things because even though it's annoying to them, it's important because if we don't communicate, bad things happen. Like we run out of food, or we run out of food. Mainly run out of food. We don't want that to happen.
And you all probably know most of this. This is more, we're reminding you because you need to train your students all of this information.
Yeah.
Because they need to be knowing this, not jumping out in front of people when they hear behind or hot. I've had situations where my students are like dumping food in the back and a chef comes up with a hot pan and just yells hot and nobody moves. And he's just standing there with like a 300-degree pan, just being like, hot! Like he says it 4 times. He got really mad. So make sure your students know this information. It's to keep them safe and to keep the kitchen running smoothly, especially. So that's why we're reminding you of this. Okay, moving on to allergens. This is another big issue. We do every once in a while have a student who eats here come in and say, hey, I had an allergic reaction to something that wasn't labeled with something I'm allergic to. And so we're just going to go over allergens so we're all aware and can help try to mitigate that as much as possible. So what are food allergies? So it's just an immune system reaction to certain ingredients. We have 9 major allergens. They're in your book. So make sure you have those somewhat memorized or you can recall them offhand. Some people are allergic to things that are not major allergens, in which case we're not expecting that, and they need to be more diligent about what they're eating. But
For
they'll
example,
also talk to us.
yeah. For example, we had someone eating here this summer who had a really severe citrus allergy, and so part of their we were aware of this, but part of their job was to make sure that they would ask us if there was citrus in something, but that's on them if it's not in the main allergen. Citrus is not one of our main allergens.
So we'll just
Sorry, I'm just gonna jump in. So based on what he just said, those one-offs, right? So the young lady that I mostly met with, her allergy is to proteins. Chicken, beef. She can't eat any of those things. The way she gets her protein is tofu. She can eat eggs, anything eggs. Eats a lot of potatoes. So those are those one-offs. Her food will be plated in.
So make sure you know the major 9, but also be receptive of someone coming up to you with something that might not be one of the major 9.
The person at Zoom is not in charge.
Oh, yeah. Person at zone is just serving zone food.
Yeah, the students that are gonna go back and like go actually in the kitchen, I think that's figured out ahead of time, like we know they're coming, right? Like, they talk to us before they come.
Yeah. So the best way to help, a lot of people will come up to the line and completely ignore the signs that are on every single menu item and ask you what the allergens are. It's helpful to just kind of run through that in your head. Obviously, you don't have to memorize the allergens for every single food item. Just maybe have a general overview, or even better, just say, "I'm not sure. There's a sign right there," but don't make it obvious that you're making fun of them for not reading the sign. Just direct them to the information that we have already prepared for them, because that's helpful. But also, don't be afraid to ask chefs. I do it all the time. I'll be like, "What are the allergens in this food? I need to know," and then I can relay that to people who might need to know as well. So, yes. And we also have, as well with allergens, we also have vegan, vegetarian, and halal food. This is like, you might not get an allergic reaction if you eat this incorrectly, but it is like a more of a like a personal or religious choice to eat this way. So we also want to kind of respect that. The 2-leaf is vegan, 1-leaf is vegetarian, and then halal is that specific word.
It's halal.
It's halal, yeah.
It's literally halal.
Perfect. Yes. So make sure you know what those are, and you can direct people to those as they ask or need.
Yeah.
Just do everything.
Yeah, especially going back to that for a second. Particularly with halal, people can actually have reactions to pork in particular if they've been halal their entire lives, because basically their body is not used to it, and it's essentially is treated as like a literal impurity. So we gotta be really careful with halal in particular. If there's any cross contact with anything that is not halal, that includes tongs, that includes like anything. We need to take that pan. I know this is annoying, but we have to do this. We have to take that pan, get rid of it, or have the sign changed so that's not halal anymore. Because we can't have anything that is halal, that is not halal, be labeled halal. Because for that reason. With these two, we still gotta be careful, right? We want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, but we really gotta make sure that happens with halal. Because people can get sick, and we don't want that to happen. But cross contact, which is why I mentioned this. So cross contact is the biggest thing that we deal with usually on our end, right? This is when two things that have different allergens come in contact with each other. So that can happen through a variety of ways. That can happen through if a serving utensil is used in another, and between two different food items. That can happen if someone even if someone uses a pair of tongs to put a food on a plate, then that tongs actually touches the other food on that plate, right? There's a lot of things where cross contact can come into play. We don't have control over all of them, right? But we do have control over some of them. So people who do have allergens, we should always direct them to the zone, because we make sure that there is no cross contact there. That is our biggest thing. We gotta make sure we're teaching our students how to not.
When you're done washing your hands, after you've sung happy birthday to yourself twice, make sure you rinse off and then dry your hands off. And then use that paper towel to turn the sink off. Don't just grab it.
Or
you just have to wash your hands again.
Or if you don't want to grab the paper, you can use your elbow. That's also acceptable. But when you're washing your hands, it's not only your hands that you have to worry about. Go up to about here on your wrists, because this area is actually also commonly gets dirty, and if you don't wash this area, what'll happen is that water kind of drips down and it drips back up, and then your hands get dirty again. So, wash. If you really want to be thorough, you can wash your entire forearm. I would not recommend this because this takes a while. That's like surgeon level stuff.
Yeah, we're not surgeons.
We're not surgeons, but a couple of inches above the wrist is usually a good idea. And make sure that you get all of the bits. So right, you scrub the fingers, you scrub in between the fingers, the back of the hands, all of that sort of deal. Make sure you're always
All right, now you know how to hand wash. Teach your students because
yes.
they have to do it too.
Show them.
Yeah.
Show
You can sing out loud when you're showing them too.
make it stick in their head.
Yeah.
Or if you find another like chorus that works, use that and let us know.
If you can think of Calvin appropriate 10-second songs, that
20
you can sing
second song.
twice, or one 20-second song, email us. Because happy birthday is weird.
So we've been talking about gloves a lot. Always wear gloves. Change your gloves if you touch yourself. If you touch the wall like I just did, right? Your apron, your red. If you touch anything that is remotely related to food, change your gloves and wash your hands. If there's a change activity, if you're doing the same thing, right? This does not mean every time you move along the tack line that you need to change your gloves, because technically it does mean that. However, there have to be sacrifices for the sake of actually being able to function. And so, if you go from taqueria to another station, you must change your gloves. If you're staying in the same station, do not change your gloves. With zone, you should probably be really careful and probably change them more regularly. That is somewhere where you should be like, follow this to the T. Everywhere else, changing tasks means going from replacing food to cleaning, or going from, or moving about, right? If you're going somewhere else, or you're doing something else, change your gloves and wash your hands. You need to change your gloves more frequently when you're working self-serve, because how many people here wash their hands before they come? No, like the guests. Yeah, none of them wash their hands before they eat,
Thanks.
but Zane does. Zane's
Sure do.
great.
My job.
It's his job. So imagine all of those people with their hands, which have probably just been touching their cell phones and other, like on anything else, like their clothes or their face or whatever. And now they're coming in and touching all of your very clean and sanitized food items and food serving items, not the food. They touch the food, eat it. So you gotta make sure you're changing because of that. Because people are disgusting. And as soon as you realize that, you don't want to be around them anymore. This job changes you. Maybe it's just me. Silverware and utensils are also two things that you gotta make sure that we're changing gloves. So if you're changing the silverware, change your gloves. If you're changing utensils, change your gloves. If you're handling fruit or dessert tongs, change your gloves. Anything that is food or is a part of the serving of food, you should change your gloves while you're doing it.
We'll also be replacing all of the utensils, like every utensil,
Yes,
like 2 or 3 times during a shift. I don't remember the exact
I
time.
think it's every 30 minutes.
Oh, so more than 2 or 3 times during a shift. So every half hour, every utensil that's being used for self-serve is going to be taken to dish and replaced. So that'll help mitigate this. We'll figure that out.
Yeah,
We should. There's a lot of tongs around that little bar thing.
we
I don't know
should-
about condoms, but no crest we should.
No crest, we should be fine.
We can order those through
And-
GFS.
And we can order more. It might be rough at first. That also includes silverware. And that, I know that's been a chronic problem even when we don't have to do this. That includes all of the silverware there. I don't know if it's not the 30 minutes because it's different, but all of that silverware, regardless of how full it is, needs to be taken to dish and washed, and new silverware must be put out. I know that's gonna be a hassle, especially when we're busy. I know that's gonna be a problem that we're going to have to fix. But we have to do that. We have to make sure that these things are getting changed. Yep. We're just trying to be safer and more sanitary around here.
We'll get used to it. I'm not too worried.
No, but there will be some growing pains and learning pains.
All right, buckets. Every station needs a red bucket. Don't put it on top of your station. It goes below everything. It must be 12 inches away from any food product, preferably below the level of the food product, and it must not ever touch the ground. So put it on the bottom shelf behind the line or under one of those stations at beds, like wherever. Just make sure it's away from food and the ground. Beautiful middle ground. It has to be used. Red buckets need cold water, not warm, not lukewarm, but cold water. Put 2 rags into it. Make sure we're getting the buckets with the right part per million of the chemical. 200, between 200 and 400 is where it should be. Usually the chefs will do this, or the porters will. They'll test the machine to make sure it's dispensing the correct ppm. But it might be good to check it every once in a while. And then
I don't. If you know how to. If you don't know how to,
it'll be on the next slide.
oh, never mind. You will learn.
A picture of it will be on the next slide, theoretically. These should be changed every 2 hours, more for if it's tables, because tables are absolutely disgusting. And you don't want to be wiping tables when there's like cheese and lettuce floating in your bucket. That's just nasty.
Every 2 hours or unless it gets
Yeah. If it's dirty, change it.
If it looked kind of nasty, it is very nasty. If it
Yeah.
look real nasty, death.
If it's bevs and you just wiped milk and it's cloudy, that's even worse. So let's just change that. Give different rags too. Put the rags away.
If you're even questioning it, just change it.
Yeah. It also gives you something to do with your board, so that helps too. I personally recommend 2 rags in every bucket because there will always be a time when someone takes your rag.
Yep.
And you go to use your bucket and there's no rag. So put 2 rags in so that you don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
Make sure they go back in when you're done.
Yes.
Yep.
A lot of students you might see it, you might have seen it. They'll hang the rag on the edge of the bucket. That's not okay. It needs to be soaking in the sanitizer water. If it's hanging on the edge, a lot of times what'll happen is you'll just grab it and then go wipe stuff. And then they're not actually doing anything helpful at all except spreading stuff around. So make sure it's all the rags are soaking in the bucket at all times.
They should be submerged.
Yes.
The Rex is in the blue line or the black?
It doesn't matter which one.
The black line is preferable for white.
Yes, black line is preferable, but if it's not available, it's okay.
Not the end of the world. This is the ppm strip test thing. It's like a little piece of tape that changes color based on whatever the parts per million is. So this is in the utility closet on the shelf. You can just tear off a little strip and dunk it in, hold it there for a little bit, and then just place the strip on one of these lines and make sure it's like between these 2 colors here. Yeah, that's if you need to do it. You can also ask any of the managers or front of house whatnot to help you with that too.
I'm pretty sure the instructions on the actual thing.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
should be on the box. Usually these things are nice and they have instructions on the box.
Yeah.
With them, if it's a micro print, get someone with good eyes if you don't.
Yeah.
Or have someone with good eyes too.
So if it is off, how do we adjust?
We can't do that. We have to get a survey to do that for us.
But we just can't use that one.
Yeah.
So, yay.
We might have to like hand make
Yeah, like I
from the
know
bucket.
yesterday the sanitizer over there was testing way too concentrated.
Mm.
So they were trying to like water it down to kind of match the ppm that we were. I don't know if they were successful or not, but
Yeah. So always good to check every once in a while.
Again, cell phones. They're disgusting. They carry 10 times more bacteria than a toilet seat. If you ever take a UV light, if you ever take like there's some gels that you can do, and if you then they'll basically trap UV light on them if they have bacteria, and it's really cool. And so if you ever do that with your cell phone, it will light up like it's a rave because they are filthy. Actually, yes. Don't
Not in the sink.
not well. If it's a modern phone, you can actually wash it in the sink. I wouldn't recommend it, but theoretically you can. Use alcohol wipes or a sterile gauze pad and isopropyl alcohol. You can buy both of those, like for really cheap, especially the isopropyl alcohol. That stuff's disturbingly cheap.
Or you can steal a couple of probe wipes from the line.
Yes, or that. That's what I do. Every like 2 or 3 days, I wipe down my phone completely, and then usually like make sure to reduce the bacterial content on it. Again, no cell phones on shifts, everyone, except for like us, but only in extremely rare circumstances should we even have our phones out, and the same with front of house people. They look unprofessional and they pose a distraction. We've all seen the students who are working and they're clearly scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and they're actually not doing their job. They have to be kept away 12 inches from food and sinks. So don't watch your phone in our sinks if you're going to do that. I wouldn't recommend it. So they are allowed during breaks. So you would have to go to the back to get them. However, probably best if you just don't bother, because then you have you're gonna have to wash your hands anyway. But then you have to go remember put your phone back. And if you don't put your phone back, that could be a problem.
You also have to remember to remind all of your students to put their phone back, and that's just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, because
They won't be happy about that.
because we're all tech gremlins and addicted to our screens. If for emergencies, you're allowed to keep your phone on you. Like if there's a family crisis developing, or something, that's okay. But you just have to let us know. Like your front house know, or your students have to let you know that there's a problem. Any earbuds, earphones, headphones are not allowed any time during your shift. Your students can't hear you, they can't hear you. This includes night crews. Can't have any headphones on night crews anymore, even one earbud. I know it's annoying because that's one of the nice part now. That was one of the nicer parts about night crews. There's nothing that stops you on night crew anyway, because there's no food, from having your phone and playing music through that. So you can, that's still allowed. It just can't be an actual earbud.
Uncommon lunch.
Same.
Thing.
It's when I say night crew, I mean all cleaning crews.
It's a safety thing.
Yeah.
You know, like if there was a fire, you could hear us screaming fire because your headphones are on.
Have you ever seen the? Okay, this is gonna be a deep cut for a lot of you, but if you've ever seen the Lego Star Wars, Jar Jar Binks special, he has his headphones on the entire time, and it's like I'm gonna send this to all of you because you guys need to watch this. It's hilarious. But this is why it's literally why you don't wear headphones, because things fall apart around you if you can't hear anything.
Something you can do just to make it more fun for your students is if you're supervising, say a night crew shift, even a dinner shift, at the end when you're cleaning, you can have like a student play their music on the radio so that you can rotate through everyone's music tastes, you can enjoy everyone's music tastes, you can make it kind of more fun, and then you can still listen to music. And you're not listening to the same thing that they play every shift, every day, every week. So I'd recommend doing that. It just makes it more fun for your students and for you to just play different music.
Once I figure out how the Commons one works, I'll let you guys know. But currently that thing is an eldritch abomination it's not even that old. It's
Yeah, we can't even get it to work as it is right now.
yeah, we can't figure out how it works.
They've had music for 3 weeks.
It's kind of somehow it got disconnected and we can't put it back together. So as soon as I figure out how that thing works, I'll let you guys know.
But no press, you can connect. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Just Bluetooth.
Or if you have an aux, you can do that too.
That too. Plug it in.
Or if you're weird and have a USB, you can also do that. I don't know anyone who actually has.
Just carries music on a USB.
Yeah, that I mean that'd be pretty cool. Not gonna lie, but
Then you wouldn't need your phone. So that's good. All right, we're almost done. We'll go to head to lunch soon. So keep in mind. Knives. We kind of went over this a little bit earlier, but these are just dangerous. Everyone knows that. Again, make sure to carry them down to your side. Don't be walking around. Yell sharp anytime you pass anyone. I don't care if they're a student out here or someone in the back. Obviously, a student out here will have no idea why you're screaming sharp at them, but just sharp, just
or knife.
move, please. Just tell them to get out of the way. we don't want an accident, especially with a student here. So just make sure there's a lot of communication. Over communicate when you're carrying something dangerous. If you're cutting things, say you're working deli, or you're helping with salads or whatnot, make sure you have a cut glove. Ask the chefs; they're usually hanging up by the knives between your glove layers, so that in case you were to like hit yourself with a knife, you're not going to cut your finger open. We've had that happen in the past. An ambulance came. It wasn't fun. And then I had to stand on deli for the rest of the night, and I didn't want to do that. So please wear a cut glove. Wash knives. I don't think we wash the knives. We'll put them in the proper sink. Again, no crest. It's the sink at the end of this hotline, not hotline, the chef line by the steamers. And then Heather said Will is going to set up a bucket for commons. So make sure knives are going in there, only there. We've had students put knives in the deep triple like sink by pots and pans. And one of our dish guys almost cut his hand open because the water was cloudy and he was putting his hand down there to like clear stuff up and there was a knife in there. So never put a knife anywhere near pots and pans. It just goes in the sink in a little bucket. Questions?
If you have any more.
Yeah, if you have more questions.
Yes.
I have a question and a suggestion.
Oh boy.
Is there a, we have like a rule for
It has to be thrown away.
like
hop off.
You ask the chef.
Yes, yeah, sorry, you asked the chefs.
let's like think Lucas and Joel say that they usually get here, but I feel like Josh and Steve, those folks, they don't really do. But I don't know what the else.
We're trying to figure that out still. I know Heather is really wanting it to be the culinary team's responsibility to clear out the warmer at the end of the night. She doesn't
Right.
want it to be students'
If
responsibility.
it was just our line, it takes a lot.
It generally we're trying to make that happen.
Just want them to be responsible. We're figuring it out still. So.
Because also, you guys don't really know where it's supposed to go. So like, yeah.
And another thing is, when we throw away the line, we have a let's say like the morning, we end the shift at 9. We throw away the food. You want us to eat before?
Generally speaking, that happens.
Summer's been weird because like we have waiting for staff and whatnot to come. That'll not happen during the school year.
Yeah.
So usually that is supposed to happen like 15 minutes past the close of service.
Yeah.
Everyone should have eaten.
Right.
It's good as a supervisor just check and then you can just immediately start done.
Just
So now it helps everybody get out.
Yeah. Because I agree, waiting for forever it's just like
Yeah.
it's annoying.
It could mess up the rhythm.
Yeah.
Once the regular school year starts to be different. Certain meal times will be set the same every day, so everybody on campus that needs to get food, like full-time wise, student-wise, they'll know that, 2 o'clock we're closed for lunch.
One of the things I found to be helpful is let dish crew know 5 minutes before we close service to go get their food, because they tend to take a long time to get their food.
Yeah.
And-
They're on like
Yeah, exactly. So, and Ralph is really good. Like if you tell Ralph, hey, it's food time, he'll run around and tell his crew as well. So,
that was my question. One of my suggestions was with commons. Could we have the towels by the sandwich bucket? 'Cause, like we get the water, we gotta get the towel. We have to walk all the way like
Yeah.
across.
that has always been a problem.
Right.
And
And like a laundry basket.
Probably not is the answer.
There's just not very much
There's
space.
not enough space.
It's
just preemptively assume you have to make
Yeah.
a bucket. You do always have to make a
Bit,
bucket.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like even when I started, that's where they were, and I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like I have to walk the
Well,
entire length of the kitchen to get my.
2 points.
So
No, it's not just getting it, throwing it away.
I mean, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, that I usually dump. I'm gonna be real with you. I usually dump it in the sink at the end and that
The chef line.
that chef line there, and then I throw the rag away and I put the bucket
You
in.
probably keep the towels there, not the laundry basket.
No, because there's just not enough room.
That shelf is full of chemicals and the shelf above is full of trash bags and scrub pads and there's just other things.
There's no room for it.
It's a good suggestion though, which
Yeah.
I've thought of like every time I work in comics.
And so you're not alone. We all suffer together on that. Hopefully, if they get this new building constructed, we'll have like actual ergonomics. We'll see.
Any other questions? Okay.
I have a question for Tony.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what are the proper reasons for Tony? Some employees, they have children, if their children are sick, they need to take care of them. That,
That's a great question.
I would say, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're a parent, and your kid is like homesick and you need to stay home, that yeah.
Yeah.
Like our full time like employees, if they have a kid that's sick, they'll call it. It's
We do have.
really the only invalid reasons would just be things that every single college student deals with. Like your shifts shouldn't change unless you change them. So if you know you have an exam coming up and you don't study at all, and then the only time you have left to study is when your shift is, that's your fault. That's not ours.
Pull an all-nighter.
Well, don't even do that. Just manage your like, study the day ahead or study in the morning when you get up.
Yeah,
dude.
no,
Like,
seriously. Like manage your time.
because there's so many times, like I've been here for 6 years now, where people would be like, "Yeah, it's a project I need to do," which I get, but like I had jobs when I was in college, and if I would have called any of my bosses and said, "Hey, I can't come in today, I got to work on a homework," they would have just laughed and like, "Haha, see you at 4 o'clock." Like, you know, you know what I mean?
Don't. Yeah.
Alright, here's the thing. For comments, the gluten free. Better top.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to find it.
It's pretty.
Yeah, we're trying.
I mean, it should be plastic.
It should be plastic, but we should also have the lid. Yes, it should have the screw lid. We might. Yeah, honestly, since we're about to go to lunch, I might steal one from here because I think we have some extras. We don't.
That probably is what happened because I know we've been transferring those things back and forth all summer.
Yeah. They're really annoying.
It's so annoying.
So yeah, that's probably what happened. Is there any other questions though, related to this, and not just general? I mean, general is okay too. We're accepting. In the interest of time,
We can go to lunch now.
I assume we're coming back here today.
yes, we will be.
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll have until 12:45 to eat. You can stay clocked in.
Forwarding.
It doesn't take very long to get rid of that lanyard.
No, it's not.
What?
Lanyards are
It doesn't take super long before people get tired of their lanyard and put it in their pocket.
okay. One sec. And one more thing.
We can just start.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
But
Station updates.
like,
Yay!
yay! Oh, sorry. You're messing with my OBS now.
All right. So
Oh, I have 0 minutes of footage left.
ignore the picture of toast. So for the zone over there, we are having zone waffles now. They're gluten-free waffles. We've had them throughout the summer, but the zone is serving waffle options now. And yes, we've always had a toaster there, but there will be a designated zone toaster out there by the zone. It used to be over here for some reason because we serve zone out there, I think. Tractor juices are now over by the infused water. So where this coffee bar is, just on the other side, the tractor juice is going to be there and the infused water is going to be there. If you're running bevs, you always have to check that. The panini press is back over at Deli and it's going to stay there. We're going to be getting rid of most of that like tile shelf thing in front of Deli, except for where the panini press is, so they can like set their plate down and stuff. But the rest of the shelf is going to be gone.
Will that be their responsibility to press their own sandwich?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a child, and then you can do it.
Then their parent or guardian figure should do it for
Yeah.
them.
We do have children that eat here on a regular basis because their families are like DAs or whatever. So we'll just make sure they're not like using the panini press because
Yeah.
it is very hot.
That would be very bad.
Tables, we've merged tables with breakfast bar and then soups. So tables 1 is going to take care of the breakfast bar, and then tables 2 is going to take care of the soups because we don't really need to have them as separate stations
Yeah.
because you kind of don't do a whole lot when you're on there. So we just merged them.
There's the table like this on that side where they put soups.
Yeah, we didn't have it over the summer.
Like this, it's L shaped.
Yeah, soups will be like where the milk thing is, but on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also take care of the condiments on that side
Yep.
as well. So yes, our breakfast bar has this beautiful cooler thing, so we don't have to make a bucket with ice in it and set bowls in there because that sucked. So now I'll have a cooler. And then the Get Real station is not going to do a bowl of the day. We were just doing that to get people used to how the station works. So we're not going to do that anymore. We'll just be making it to serve. And smoothies is going to go there instead. So smoothies will be at the Get Real station using that little cold plate to put the smoothies out.
Oh,
So they will not be behind zone.
Sorry. I had to adjust the.
All right, we talked about this yesterday. We passed it around. Every station is going to have a checklist. It'll have a binder. It'll have like an overview of the position. It'll have a safety page. It'll have how to make a mop bucket, how to make red and green buckets. Opening and closing checklists for each station. Again, as supervisors, it is your responsibility to make sure that is filled out, and then you're going to sign every one of those at the end of the night before you let your student leave. We're thinking it might be, instead of doing a huddle at the end of the night, you'll just send your student home after they've completed their station, because we have a lot of issues with students sitting on their phones doing nothing while people are like finishing up 1 or 2 stations or whatnot. It'll kind of be up to you guys can gauge if that's something you want to do or not, but we don't want students just sitting around doing nothing. It looks bad. It's technically a waste of money, and you could just go home. So we'll figure that out, but you have to make sure you're checking off those checklists. Again, if it doesn't get completed and you've checked it off, the responsibility for that will fall on you, and it will get talked to. So just make sure you're doing that. Every binder will have like a cart or a shelf inventory if it has it. Like for the carts behind like taqueria in line 2, they like gloves or probe wipes or whatever is in there. There'll be like a little inventory to make sure it stays full. And then if needed, you'll have like a chart with your station and how it gets set up. This will mostly be for like deli or Get Real or Top, where we have like a lot of different stuff. And then any other relevant information, as well as thermometer, pen, marker. It's all in the little binder. It'll just make your lives easier, help with training, help with making things flow a little bit better. So that's the hope, at least. On to scheduling, which I guess we talked about.
Kind of.
Fine. Keep sorry.
So yeah. We still want you to input your unavailability. The email that we sent out that we have since retracted still tells you how to put in your unavailability. So if you need a guide on that, use that email or the message. The message is still in Teams, so you can find it that way. You need to input it on a monthly basis on the 15th, by the 15th of the month.
The prior month.
Prior month. So, as in for October, you'll put it in by September 15th. That makes sense. I know the handbook just said something about requesting the day off by the week before. I don't know what that's about. That's the first I've heard of it. So either we're wrong or it's wrong, and I suspect we're probably wrong. So I don't know. We'll get back to you on that. That was new to me, so we'll find out. But yes, it'll help us with scheduling, right? You guys got any other stuff going on? It'll help us make sure that I understand where you're when you aren't available. And it'll help us with making sure our shifts are fully staffed. And it will help out everyone with big events that need staff. So, for example, we've got convocation coming up next week, Thursday next week, and so that's gonna be like everyone, retail, probably everyone. retail, us, PCC, all of those people, everyone's gonna be working together because sharing is caring. This came in so wonderfully put it.
I thought it'd be funny to put that.